Ryan Reynolds is now caught talking about staring at a stranger who was feeding their baby.
Ryan Reynolds has come under fire from Blake Lively after a sexual harassment victim accused him of ruining her life, and honestly, it's a complete mess.
And it sounds so bad given Blake's complaint now. I can't even.
Blake has struggled to gain sympathy with her harassment claims, but now her own husband is making a mockery of the situation by eyeing up women breastfeeding and calling it funny.
This isn't a funny joke if you find it so sensitive when it happens to your wife. It's not funny, Ryan. This whole thing was nuts. Nothing Blake's accusing Justin of is even that bad.
Want to know why this whole scandal is going to destroy Blake? It's because her entire lawsuit against Justin Baldoni is built around one major claim that he sexually harassed her in several ways.
The one about, he burst in on me uninvited when I was breastfeeding my child. She says we should run lines together. He's like, anytime. And she's like, come on over. I'm breastfeeding the baby in the trailer, but come on over.
Yeah, one of those offenses allegedly includes him walking into the trailer while she was breastfeeding. She described it as a deeply humiliating moment, one that made her feel unsafe on set. Apparently, her husband, Ryan Reynolds, found it so offensive that he took it upon himself to support her in the most aggressive way possible.
She invited him in, and a lot of women are comfortable having someone around when they breastfeed, so it's not so weird, especially out in Hollywood, for him to assume, yeah, I guess she's fine with this because she did let him in. Ryan Reynolds comes off terribly.
He went after Baldoni both publicly and privately, making it clear that what Baldoni did was completely unacceptable. Ryan made it known that no man should ever be in a position to invade a woman's privacy like that.
Not this guy. I didn't know what the effective patient specialist about. I just kept on staring, and then I just said, oh, no, I don't want.
This isn't just speculation or some Hollywood gossip. Ryan Reynolds openly admitted on national television that he once stared at a breastfeeding mother in a hotel lobby for several minutes. He wasn't just passing by.
That video is a response to a question a fan had asked Ryan Reynolds, asking, if you had a time machine, which historical event would you like to go back in time to witness?
He wasn't just glancing in her direction. He was locked in, making prolonged eye contact. The woman, fully covered, sat there feeling confused and uncomfortable, wondering why some random man wouldn't stop staring at her while she was feeding her child.
Ryan Reynolds can go do this as the time event he wants to go back and revisit when he stared at a stranger doing the same thing.
And Ryan told this story like it was some hilarious anecdote, cracking jokes about how awkward it was, while completely ignoring the fact that he had done exactly what his wife accused Baldoni of, invading a woman's privacy in a deeply uncomfortable way.
Wants to sue. Yeah, she says that's sexual harassment. Pick one. Would you like this woman to come back in time and sue you now?
Think about the sheer hypocrisy here. Blake Lively, who claims to be a champion for women, turned an entire lawsuit into a crusade over eye contact being harassment. She dragged Baldoni's name through the mud over something that, if we're following her logic, her own husband should now be legally accountable for. And Ryan? He stood behind her, playing the perfect supportive husband, while knowing full well that he had done something even more blatant and never faced any consequences for it.
Or is your wife being ridiculous? Tell us which one is trash.
Of course, Blake would never call Ryan's actions harassment. That would mean holding him to the same standard she holds every other man to. And that's not how this power couple operates. They set their own rules when it's convenient. They're the moral authority on sexual misconduct when it suits them, but when it doesn't, they laugh off their own questionable behavior and expect the public to overlook the contradiction. But the internet never forgets.
But Ryan Reynolds, one of the things he allegedly exploded on Justin Baldoni over was alleged fat shaming of Blake, because I guess when she was shooting this movie, she was postpartum.
And here's where things get even worse. Blake Lively's own accusations become completely unhinged when compared to her husband's. She accused another man, Jamie Heath, of sexual misconduct for simply making eye contact while she was pumping milk.
Getting ready to feed her baby. All this was the complaint that was made, which she later says, oh, I don't think you were trying to cop a look, but whatever. This whole complaint about he was there uncomfortably while she was pumping, it seemed.
She didn't claim he touched her or said anything inappropriate, just that he looked in her direction. That was enough for her to label him a predator, enough to add another layer of drama to her case, and enough to expect the public to rally behind her and see her as a victim.
It's insane. But now Ryan Reynolds can go do this as the time event he wants to go back and revisit when he stared at a stranger doing the same thing.
Media critics didn't take long to point this out. Elridge, one of the more vocal figures analyzing the lawsuit, mocked the absurdity of Blake's claims.
Assistant, while Lively is having body makeup removed, she was not topless as she claimed in her complaint. She was either nursing or pumping while fully clothed. Lively asked Heath to face the wall while they determined time to meet with the other producers, who were standing just outside the door.
If eye contact is harassment, then shouldn't Ryan Reynolds face the exact same scrutiny? Shouldn't he be held accountable for humiliating a woman in public? Shouldn't he be the one dragged through the mud in a lawsuit? Of course, none of that will happen, because this was never really about justice or boundaries. It was about control, about power, about weaponizing accusations for personal gain.
Weeks later, on June 1st, 2023, Lively accuses Heath of making eye contact with her while she had asked him to face the wall.
And let's talk about Ryan's hypocrisy specifically, because if you think the breastfeeding incident is just a one-off example, think again. This is a consistent pattern. Ryan has built his entire public image on being this snarky, self-aware, funny guy, but the more you look into his past behavior, the more you realize that a lot of his jokes don't age well.
I would like to get that woman some fucking compensation. It's okay when you do it. It's a problem when other people do it. Interesting. You just stood there and stared because you didn't know what to do. You're a grown man. You're a married man. You're a father. You've seen a woman breastfeeding before. Why were you staring at this woman?
His entire career is littered with moments where he's made women uncomfortable, pushed the boundaries of what's acceptable, and gotten away with it because he hides behind comedy. But when another man does it, suddenly it's a crime worthy of a lawsuit. And it's not just the media catching on, it's the public too. People aren't buying into Blake and Ryan's selective outrage anymore. The internet has called them out for picking and choosing when to be offended, when to play the victim, and when to weaponize identity politics for their own benefit. The backlash is already starting to show.
Here your wife is saying she asked somebody to look at the wall because she was pumping or nursing or whatever.
Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds spent years carefully crafting their Hollywood power couple image. Two untouchable A-listers who not only ruled the box office, but also positioned themselves as the industry's favorite celebrity couple. But now that illusion is crumbling fast. The very people who once championed them, the same stars who once showered them with public support, are now backing away at record speed. And it's not just minor figures in the industry. Their closest allies, the people they relied on to maintain their elite status, are cutting ties.
This isn't a funny joke if you find it so sensitive when it happens to your wife. It's not funny, Ryan.
But she wants to sue. Yeah, she says that's sexual harassment.
One of the biggest blows to this carefully controlled image, Taylor Swift. For years, Blake and Taylor were inseparable, publicly flaunting their friendship on social media, spending holidays together, and positioning themselves as an unstoppable force in Hollywood. But now, Swift wants nothing to do with Blake Lively's mess. And it's not just speculation. The cracks in their friendship are now fully visible.
Ryan Reynolds comes off terribly. He had them over to their penthouse in New York, and Taylor Swift was believed to be there, according to this latest complaint.
The Daily Mail dropped the first bombshell. Justin Baldoni's legal team planned to subpoena Taylor Swift as part of the ongoing lawsuit. Why? Because Blake had been name-dropping Taylor behind the scenes, allegedly using her influence to pressure industry figures in ways Swift never signed off on.
Blake personally, with Ryan's help, rewrote scenes, again, not within the purview of an actress. And then after that, they have text messages in which Blake tells Justin, this is in the latest lawsuit, you know, I know you've never watched Game of Thrones, but when you get around to watching it, you'll realize I'm Khaleesi.
This instantly sent shockwaves through the entertainment world. Was Blake Lively exploiting her friendship with Swift to strengthen her own legal position? And more importantly, was Swift even aware of it? According to TMZ, the answer is no. Reports suggest that Taylor Swift felt completely blindsided by the entire situation. She allegedly had no idea her name was being leveraged in legal circles and was reportedly furious when she found out.
Justin Baldoni before this whole. I mean, who the hell is he? I guess he's in some small thing I never saw. But she's saying, "F with me, and we'll crush you. My dragons and I." Biggest movie star, one of them in the planet, the biggest pop star in the planet, and I will hurt you unless I get my way. So
This wasn't just a misunderstanding. This was a calculated move by Lively, one that put Swift in the crosshairs of a legal battle she had nothing to do with. And Swift's team wasted no time in responding. The PR silence was deafening. Swift, who has never shied away from defending her friends when it matters, refused to issue a single statement of support for Lively. Her PR team, which usually controls every aspect of her public image with surgical precision, made the conscious decision to let Blake fend for herself.
And now he's going full Johnny Depp on her to show that she was the bully, she was the one harassing him, and this guy who had, comparatively very little power was forced now to come out and tell the truth about Blake Lively.
No Instagram posts, no press comments, no damage control whatsoever. It was a clear sign that Swift was stepping away from this disaster, refusing to let her name be dragged into Blake and Ryan's sinking ship. But Swift wasn't the only one distancing herself. Blake's own co-stars were making it clear they didn't want to be part of this drama either. The most obvious example, Brandon Sinar, her It Ends With Us co-star. When asked about the lawsuit and whether he supported Blake, Sinar refused to take a side. He dodged questions, gave vague responses, and ultimately chose silence over defending his leading lady.
Blake Lively and getting hired again because all of her diva antics are coming out and the way she behaves behind the scenes. And now this with the lawsuit and the New York Times thing, because she's now filed against him as well. So it's a terrible move by her and them PR-wise.
And this wasn't just seen as neutrality, it was seen as cowardice. In Hollywood, where public loyalty is everything, his hesitance spoke volumes. If Sinar truly believed in Lively's claims, if he had seen something on set that supported her accusations, why wouldn't he speak up? Why would he remain silent while the industry was watching? His refusal to stand with her only reinforced what many were already thinking, that no one in Hollywood wanted to be dragged down with Blake Lively.
Well, now they've produced the text messages, Baldoni and team, in this latest lawsuit against her, showing Justin being like, don't worry about any of that. We can shoot any scenes that require, exposure toward the end of the movie when, you feel better about things. This is the last thing you should have to worry about.
What he's willing to do in public. What does that say about their relationship behind the scenes? Ryan seems to be in hot water, no doubt, and what happens next is anyone's guess. So if you want to stay updated, hit that subscribe button below.